Welcome to St. Andrew's Community United Methodist Church live interactive podcast. Thank you for tuning in with us today. And now for your hosts for your spiritual hour of power, Pastors D.A. Bennett and Josh Coates.
And good afternoon. Welcome to our weekly podcast where we get to talk about the great things that, hopefully the great things that we talked about in the sermon the previous Sunday. It's Tuesday afternoon. We always look forward to this time. How are you doing, DA?
You know, I'm having two struggles right now. I'm going to confess.
Hungry?
The first, well, three struggles. The first is while you were talking and I'm looking at the camera, I look and hanging over the camera, you'll notice there's like a cord that's not plugged into anything. And I'm like, okay, are we missing something? I can look over on Jeff's monitor and I see things look normal, but I was just a little momentarily discombobulated. That's not a word you get to use very much.
No, that's a great word.
And the second thing, and I'm going to get this out here right now, is if you watch us every week, then you know that we always have notes and stuff. And my notes are big so I can read them, but Josh's notes, he's got this, and I'm going to have to wear my glasses a lot today just so I can read this because my old eyes, you know, they don't focus as well as your young eyes do.
Normally, my notes are a lot bigger, but this week, because it was the last sermon of a series, I kind of did a bigger a review than I normally would do. And so a lot of that information is on here, and I had to it was either keep it the normal size and go front and back, or keep it make it smaller so it'll all fit on one page.
And when you say usually my notes are bigger, I find myself, because I watched The Voice last night, and it's like, you know, when you get to that big note.
Right. You know, not that kind of note for me. I can't sing.
So, well, you play guitar and sing a little bit.
Well, just because you can do something doesn't mean A, you're any good at it, and B, you should. I think that's scriptural. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Yeah, all things are permissible, but not all things are helpful.
Right.
You know, and I'm sitting here laughing because, you know, I play guitar a little bit and sing a little bit, and it's like, the preschool kids probably think I'm Jimi Hendrix, you know, but no, not anywhere close to that. But
I get it.
But this morning I was actually thinking, hey, you know, Thursday I can't be here. Josh can just fill right in because he can play guitar and he can sing "This Is the Day" and the chorus to "Awesome God."
I don't know that I can, though. I don't know any of those songs. That's before.
If I can teach them to children to sing, I can teach you the 3 or 4 chords that are played for them.
That's kind of a bold statement. If you can teach a child something, you can teach me. I don't know.
I'm feeling kind of bold today.
All right.
I'm in a good place. We had a meeting right before we started to plan something that's coming up here about 3 weeks from tomorrow, which tomorrow is, the 5th? So it'll be the 26th.
Something like that.
A night of just looking ahead in our church. I just want to leave it right there right now. Very excited about what we talked about. I think that's going to be something great for our church.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it. Jeff, how are you doing, man? You had a long weekend of hockey.
I'm glad to be back, but yes, long weekend of hockey, you know, and I haven't got a chance to tell you what happened. So we took the team up to Colorado State, Fort Collins, and while we were driving to Colorado, UNLV ended up playing Denver. UNLV's number 2, and we're number 1. So they're like, hey, you guys are in town. We're in town. What's it going to take to throw a game together? So in less than 10, 12 hours, we've threw together a full-fledged game on Sunday afternoon, and then.
So that's why you got back so late Sunday, then, because
it
wasn't even Sunday.
It was Monday morning.
Monday
when I
morning.
talked to him Monday morning, he goes, "I got back about
6:20.
You know,
that's it.
An hour ago."
Yep, that was it. But it was a good time, and you know, thankful for a day or two of rest and back at it.
So you guys don't have the budget to fly, huh? You guys?
Oh no. No, UNLV does. That's for sure. They flew first class, you know, and had their filet mignon before coming to play our ragtag team of misfits. So
did you beat them?
We did not. No.
Man.
We had 3 games in 3 days, so it's a little tough task and whatnot.
It was a setup, man. It was a
absolutely.
It was a trap game.
Absolutely.
Hey, y'all are in town and y'all are hours from home on a bus ride and you're worn out and beat up. What's it going to take for us to, switch place in the rankings.
I would have said, here's what it'll take. How about you guys ride home in the bus and you send us home in a plane?
There you go. That's
I like that
negotiating.
I mean, that's how OU gets like Kent State in. They give them $1 million or whatever. Yeah. So I'd say, hey,
we'll fund your program for the year if you play us. Although Kent State, after they played OU, they played Georgia, so they were really filling the coffers.
They have filled their athletic budget for the last couple of years.
And honestly, when you look at football, sorry, this is not what y'all paid for today. Just it says playful banter. So this is playful banter.
This is it.
Is the sports that are not revenue generating, tennis, golf, gymnastics, they all benefit at OU from the football team.
Oh, yeah,
what
absolutely.
the football team does. And so that's one of the great things about it is not only do they do that, when they do well, they get recognized then at the game. Hey, this is our, women's national champion softball team. Now, they may generate their own revenue because they're so awesome.
Yep.
But, anyhow.
So, question
hockey.
for you. So, we wrapped this series up this week, and I opened by talking about some tools. And and so the question I have for you is, do you feel more comfortable with a wrench in your hand or with, let's say, like a spatula? Do you prefer, like, tools from the garage where you're working around the house or tools in the kitchen where you're making something?
So I feel like this is like the UNLV game. This is a trap question.
This isn't a trap question at all.
Because somebody might listen to this and try to take away my man card. I am more comfortable in the kitchen because I spend more time in the kitchen.
That's absolutely my answer. If you were here Sunday or if you watched online, I mean, I mess things up all over the place when it comes to using tool. Like, I don't do any real work on our cars. I will, Bonnie might need something cosmetic done. I put in a new sun visor in her car because it was getting droopy. And literally it's 3 screws, and it was eBay.
That's about 2 more screws than I'm normally working with.
It was eBay 3 screws and a YouTube video. And but beyond that, I'm pretty useless with tools. But I feel way more confident and comfortable in the kitchen. I enjoy cooking things.
I do my fair share of cooking at home, and with household repairs, I have to be honest. Robin grew up with a dad that was Mr. Goodwrench. He could fix anything.
That's my dad.
And so she would be out in the garage with her dad helping. She wanted to go to the hardware store with her dad. I did not grow up with any of that. Now, when we bought our first house in Ada, and of course we didn't have kids, but we stripped and stained hardwood floors. I was very proud of those floors, being able to do that, having never seen it done or done any way before.
And you didn't have YouTube videos.
And we did not have YouTube videos. The internet did exist, but it was in its infancy. Doing all the work we did in that house, I was very glad. Of course, after we stripped 30 layers of wallpaper off the walls so we could, texture the walls, her dad comes in and said, yeah, I would have just torn the walls out and put all new sheetrock up. And it's like, yeah, that's a big help now. And no, I probably would do what we did because, doing taping and bedding of seams and sheetrock is an art, in my opinion. I mean,
Absolutely.
I've done it, my fair share of times, but yeah, I'm not really a handyman.
Yeah, I'm not either. So
that's why we have Jeff on staff.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the reason we talked about that, and the reason I talked about it, was because in order to properly use tools, we need to not only know what the tool is, but we also need to know the purpose of it, what it's for, right? I can tell you many times I've used wrong tools for something, whether it was because I was lazy or not, but I've used a wrench for a hammer. I've done all kinds of crazy stuff, but you mess things up when you don't know what it is or what its purpose is. You mess things up, and that's kind of what I talked about with regards to our salvation. The first 3 weeks of this series, we've said salvation is a gift from God that we can't take credit for, that it's not a reward that we can boast about. We talked about that the process of being created anew in Christ makes us God's masterpiece. And then the last part of this passage that we looked at, it says, so we can do the good things God planned for us long ago. And that's the purpose of our salvation. We're not the masterpiece that's just supposed to hang on the wall and look pretty, but we're a masterpiece that in fact has a purpose of getting some work done. God has things planned for us, and not only do we need to know what salvation is, but understanding the purpose of it, I think, is incredibly helpful in our walk with Christ.
Absolutely. And I've got to say, I almost cracked up because while you were talking, I looked and Jeff's got a highlighter sitting on top of a crescent wrench, and I was like, I'm much more comfortable with the highlighter than I am the crescent wrench.
I would not even have known that was called a crescent wrench. I would have just said a wrench. So you're
I'm
like
half a step in front of you.
Jeff, there's DA, and then there's Josh when it comes to that.
So, but okay, so sorry, we'll try to get serious now. Here's what I love about what you preached on Sunday is I had read Ephesians 2, 8, 9, and I'm going to say 10a most of my life. And the first time I remember somebody really reading 10 about you are God's masterpiece, and other translation says you are God's workmanship, you know, that God is a master craft person, kind of, you know, God can fix anything. And that's where it stopped when I first heard it. And I think that leads to a lot of feel-good theology. Hey, man, you're a masterpiece.
Right.
And, you know, yeah, okay, so even though we've already established, can't take credit for it, it's not a reward, but you're a masterpiece. And most people want to leave it off there. And that's what I think is important about the scriptures and really putting them in context and really reading them, is because that's not where it ends. And that's what you were talking about Sunday.
I mean, the temptation is to focus on the blessing and not the fact that we have a responsibility. That's the focus, is to focus on the temptation is to focus on our response and not what God has for us. And so we looked at Abraham in Genesis 12, where God says, hey, I'm going to bless you and make you famous. And the temptation is to stop reading the scripture there and say, yes, that's what I want. God, yes, sign me up for that. But the point of it is to be a blessing to all the families of the earth. And yes, we are God's masterpiece, but we can't stop reading there. It's for a purpose, so that we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. And those good things go all the way back to Genesis. I mean, all the way back to the beginning. We see God's heart for the nations to bring people to know him. That's part of those good things that God planned for us all along.
Right, yeah. Now that I have saved you, now that I have made you new, let me tell you what the exciting thing is that's about to happen in your life. Here's how you will live in response to that glorifies me, is by you now being used like a tool in my hands to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish in redeeming this fallen creation and building the church that God is building. I mean, yeah, it's really great. And it's not like it's, oh, you know, I did this for you because you owe me now.
No. It's not. We're not saved by works. We're saved for works, and that's such an important distinction.
So I do love that you talked about the whole relationship between faith and works, and you described it as peanut butter and jelly.
Right. Well, also another way you could look at it is, people's relationship status on social media. Sometimes it's complicated.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think of when I think of the relationship between faith and good works, because some people will err on one side and say, well, I'm really saved by works, and they become very legalistic, and it becomes about this checklist of things that I have to do to make God happy, to make God love me so that I'm saved. And then others err completely on the other side of that, where I can really do anything I want because I'm saved by grace through faith, and I believe, and so that's all that matters. And I said the prayer, I raised my hand, I went down to the altar when I was 8, so I'm good. And so it's complicated because we err on both sides of that at times, but the two do go together like peanut butter and jelly. Do you like peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah, I do like peanut butter and jelly. And here lately, it's been strawberry jelly that goes with my.
All I will eat is peanut. I mean, I'll eat.
My kids won't eat strawberry jelly.
If you give me a peanut butter and jelly that's made of grape jelly, I'll eat it. But
it doesn't have.
All we have at our house is strawberry jelly.
It's like a grade B peanut butter and jelly.
Right.
Okay, so I actually had a different plan, though.
So for me, peanut butter and jelly, I will eat if it's grape jelly. I won't have anything to do with it if it's crunchy peanut butter. I don't want anything to do with crunchy peanut butter. Is that a terrible take?
No, it's not a terrible take, but come on, bro.
I don't want to crunch my peanut butter and jelly.
That's nuts.
Yes.
You got a rim shot over there for us?
So what direction were you going to go? Because I just totally interrupted.
No, that's okay. Because when you were preaching Sunday and you said, peanut butter and jelly, or what do you like to eat? I was like chips and salsa.
Hey,
I like
yes.
chips. I like salsa, but I really like them together.
Yeah,
and
I'm not ever just going to go.
Guy.
I'm not ever just going to go drink salsa, and I'm not ever just going to go eat some tortilla chips.
Okay, so
but the two go together.
I
absolutely.
do eat tortilla chips, so I guess tortilla chips gets to be the faith, because people think it's only about faith. But like if I'm dehydrated and nothing sounds good, I'll eat tortilla chips or crackers, something that's got a little bit of salt, just to get something in my stomach.
Yeah, I've got to have the salsa.
But I got to have the salsa later.
So, but it's
or
interesting
queso.
you said that.
I guess some people would have queso instead of salsa.
I like to mix the queso and the salsa.
That's
good to do too.
I've been known to go there.
And one thing that I talked about was John Wesley, founder of our Methodist movement. The reason we're called Methodists today is because of John Wesley. And he actually argued that faith and good works were so intertwined that they were both necessary for salvation.
Right.
And he the way he laid it out, similar to what you just said, that your chips are the faith because you have to have those. He said that faith was necessary for salvation unconditionally, that there is no scenario where salvation comes when faith is not a part of it.
Right.
And then he argued that good works was necessary for salvation conditionally. If there was time and if there was opportunity, that's actually how we lived our faith out, because faith isn't just believing something. It is, if for those math people out there, the equation I like to use is faith equals belief plus action. Faith is an active thing. It's not just believing something about something, but it's actually acting on that. And so he believed that they were so intertwined, both were necessary. And we look at the thief on the cross. He didn't have the time or the opportunity for good works because he's about to die.
Right.
Jesus didn't say, get down off the cross if you believe me and go be baptized or go have communion or go to church or all the things that we all agree are good that we should be doing as followers of Christ. He just said, you're with me in paradise. I say I will remember you. And faith in that instance was unconditional, as it is in all instances, but conditionally there wasn't an opportunity for good works. But many of us don't fall under the category of the thief on the cross.
Well, but let's talk about the thief on the cross for just a minute, because the fact that he did that and the fact that Scripture records that's a powerful statement that, it is, we are saved by grace through faith. I mean, that's very powerful.
Absolutely.
But I would even go on to say that the action, the activity, the act of his faith was a work.
Yeah.
Because while he did not, go down off the cross, get baptized, those things you talked about, but his faith was an action. It was a work. We saw his faith at work, if you will. And
especially considering that the other thief was almost mocking Jesus.
Right.
And the guy's like, look, he didn't do anything. Basically, shut your mouth. And Jesus, please remember me.
And when you talk about, believing and doing, I remember when I was going my interview for ordination with the Board of Ordained Ministry, and a guy said something to me. He said, remember, we are not human believings, we're human beings. And, that stayed with me, and I began to think. And so my math equation was what we believe and what we do equals what we be. That human
I don't know if that's good English, but I like it.
It's horrible English, but it was human being plus human doing equals human being.
Yeah. So, I like that. What do you think about this statement? And I think I've mentioned it before on this podcast. I don't know if it was with this series or a previous one, but God didn't create a mission for his church. He created a church for his mission. What do you think about that?
And I've heard that before, but I don't remember if I've heard you say it. And even you said, I can't take credit for this.
I can't. I mean, I heard it 20 years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since.
But it's a wonderful statement because, again, it goes to the heart of what this scripture was talking about. We are created for good works, and we just did a series on creating the church. And I don't even think I ever went there with the church was created for this mission God has had. Now, I may go there a little bit Sunday, shameless plug, because, we're talking, again, we're building off what you did this last summer as we enter into this idea of engagement and how we live out our faith. But yeah, I absolutely love that statement. And it's kind of funny, but I think the reason it's important to say this is if somebody was planting a church, the first question somebody might ask is, well, what's your vision? And a vision without an act is just a dream. So that's your vision. Okay, what's your mission?
Yeah.
And we are created as a church for the mission that God already has, for the vision that God has already,
which has been there from the very beginning. And I talked about when you look back in Genesis, Adam and Eve, he says, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth." And he also says that to Noah as he's starting over. And that's the same call, different words, but it's the same mission as Jesus telling his disciples to go make disciples of all the nations, baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teach them to obey all that I've commanded, and know that I'm with you always. It's one and the same. God's heart is for the entire world, for all the people groups, all the nations, and his desire, his call for the church is to be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth with his children, to go make disciples. It's one and the same. And so the church coming about was his way of fulfilling that mission. It's his plan to fulfill that mission that he's had from the very beginning of time.
Yeah, and so one of the things that you also brought up, and I think, again, this whole relationship between faith and works, and it was emphasizing the works. We're a masterpiece so that we can do the works that God has planned for us in advance to do, is that God's work is not something we have to do. Yeah. It's something we get to do. And I think this is important for us to remember, because it's not like, well, I'm a Christian, this is what I have to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And
who
that's
wants
something
to sign up for that?
Yeah, and that's something I really wanted to emphasize, because of the complicated nature between faith and good works. Anytime you're preaching a sermon on the good works side of it, you always have to be careful that no one goes home thinking a legalistic mindset of, I have to do these things in order for God to love me, in order to be saved. Even when you say it over and over and over again, it's God's gift of grace. It's we're saved by grace through faith. Even when you say that and recap that, there's still the struggle of, I want to make sure that no one walks away thinking, man, this is what I have to do. And so I think it's so important to make that distinction that we get to. And I use the story of my children helping us in the kitchen when they were little, and they didn't have to do that. It actually would have been a lot easier to make the pizza, a lot less messier, a lot, it actually
probably tastes better.
Right? It costs more because there's a lot of cheese that ended up on the ground that we had to throw away and stuff. But it was time spent, and absolutely love and cherish those memories. And that's the way it is with God. God invites us to be a part of what he's already doing.
One of the things I think about is, we've already established the fact that we're not musicians. We would never insult a musician by claiming to be one ourselves. But, you were learning to play guitar. I was learning to play guitar, and I always do it like this, and that's not how I play guitar. I'm just kind of a chord strummer guy. And if I said, man, I really want to be a better guitar player. If I ask somebody, ask Steve Brand or ask Chad, our guitarist on Sunday morning, Be Wise, when he's playing the bass, man, I want to be a better guitar player. What do I have to do? What do I have to do? And the response is then, well, you have to. You got to practice. You got to do all this. And that, again, that complicated relationship between faith and works. I want to be a better follower of Christ. What do I have to do? Well, you have to read your Bible. You have to pray. You have to do all these things. We switch it around when we say, if you want to be stronger in your faith, if you want to be a mature person of faith, here are the things that you get to do that can help you get to that point. It's not a have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a get to.
Salvation doesn't start at our death. It begins at our new birth. And so there's all these things that we get to be a part of because we're followers of Christ. And I know it was complicated for me growing up because I think I maybe mentioned this in one of the services, but for me, I wanted to follow Jesus close enough to get the benefits of being a Christ follower, the benefits of I'm saved, all of that
filled with the Holy Spirit.
Right. Yeah. But I didn't want to follow him so closely that it was going to require anything of me, because we know that salvation is free, but the reality is following Jesus is costly. And I didn't want to pay that cost of actually following him. I just wanted to follow him close enough that hey, yeah, there's a Christ follower. We know he's saved, but not for it to actually require anything of me.
And this plays out in a lot of ways in the practice of our faith. It's like we all want a big, strong church, and we all want to do things. One of the things I learned right when I came to St. Andrews, and we were still in a high growth pattern at the time, is people would come from other churches. They were excited to, be a part of St. Andrews, whether they had just moved into town or, moved across town or felt like it was time to make a change in what their spiritual home would be. And they'd always say how much they loved their church. Loved our church, but then you could tell, but we want this church to be what our old church used to be. And sometimes I want to be a follower of Jesus. I want to be a Christian. I want to be saved. I want to go to heaven when I die, all those things. But I still kind of want some of the stuff that I used to do before I came to faith in Christ. You know, I still want to. Some people, when they share their testimony, I'm sure you've heard this before. Here's what my life was like before I came to faith in Jesus, and they make it sound so exciting and good. It's like, why did you ever want to come to faith in Jesus?
Right?
Because again, salvation is free. That part is easy. The cost of discipleship, taking up my cross, sacrificially giving myself to something that is bigger than myself.
Sanctification, where God is working in us and shaping us and molding us and pruning us. And I mean, that is painful at times. It's costly. It hurts, but it's worth every bit of it because of the joy that comes in following Christ and getting to be a part of what God has for us.
And part of that, again, shameless plug, this is what's exciting to me about what we were planning right before the podcast began, is an entering into the presence of God in such a way that we walk out differently than we walked in with. And again, I don't want to give that away. I want people to know but because we're excited about it doesn't mean anybody else is.
Right.
But we're really excited about it. Jeff's over there looking at us. Jeff doesn't even know what it is because we just talked about it right before we came into podcast record.
I laid out four. So the thought of going and making disciples, the thought of doing these things God planned for us long ago can be daunting. And so I laid out kind of four simple ways to be a part of that for us to live out our faith. And it was prayer, it is giving, it is welcoming, right? We talk about go to the nations, but the nations in a lot of ways are coming to us. So prayer, giving, welcoming, and then the go part, I emphasize as you are going rather than going, because we think, well, I'm not called to go to that country, and so I'm exempt from the Great Commission. But the reality is it's as you are going to the store, to work, wherever, we should be making disciples. And those are kind of four simple ways to live out our faith. What are your thoughts on those four, and are there things that you would add to that list?
So one of the things I would say about those four is that's really what we're getting into in this next series. I mean, I don't know if you did that on purpose or not.
No.
I didn't think so.
God thing. And I can't take credit for it. I got to give it to God.
There we go. And whenever you talked about going, I'm sitting there going, okay, if he doesn't say this today, I'm absolutely going to say it in the podcast on Tuesday, is, the as you're going. So the reality there that Jesus, I think, is hitting on in the Great Commission is you're going to go somewhere.
Right.
You're not always just going to stay right here. You're going to go places, and you did a great job of saying when you go to the school, when you go to the store, when you go to school, when you go to the ballpark, all those places we go, every place we go is a place Jesus can use us to help make disciples. In fact, that's what he says to Joshua. Every place your feet trod is going to be a place that I claim for holy. Would I add something to that? Maybe, but I didn't need to. It was a complete package of what you gave us, the whole welcoming idea. I'll be honest with you, friends, when I think about ministries of our church, and we talk about this in staff all the time, people come to coffee with the pastor, become new members. I'll say, if you don't know any other ministry to serve in, be a greeter. 8:15 service, I get, because we're here early, I get to stand out there and greet people as they come in and welcome them. It is the greatest thing ever. And I'm just like y'all. It's like, I met this person last week. I don't remember their name. You know what? I just eat my humble pie and say, I'm sorry. I don't remember your name. In fact, I think this last Sunday I saw Laura talking to someone new. I needed to interrupt that and talk to Laura just for something on worship. But while I was there, I stopped and introduced myself, and that person introduced themselves back and go, "Oh, we've already met." I'd forgotten. So it happens. But the things
people
that you
like to be
about,
helpful. So what I've learned is, can you help me with your name? And they they don't recognize, oh, he's forgot my name again. He's like, oh, he needs help. Yeah, I'll help you with my name.
Maybe I need to start using that. I'm usually just, I'm dumb. I don't remember your name. But again, the cost of that, you got to put yourself out there a little bit. You got to put yourself out there a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, are there any questions, anything submitted this week, Jeff? Anything from you that you'd like to throw in there before we wrap things up and put a nice little bow on it?
No, it sounds like everything was explained pretty good and well, so no questions from the peanut gallery, so well done.
I got distracted by your joke on crunchy peanut butter because I was going to say, if you never know what to do, just say, no, it's not peanut butter and jelly or chips and salsa, it's salt and pepper, or, whatever it is. What are things that go together? Friends, we're always glad to have opportunity that you would invite us into your lunch break if you're watching us live, or just part of your evening, part of your day, where we can help each other grow as disciples of Jesus Christ. Thank you so much for tuning in. Share this with friends if you want. Remember, every Sunday, 8:15 is our traditional service, and then our other worship is at 9:30 and 10:50. We would love to have you come. We would love to have you invite a friend and bring them with you. We're excited about some things that God is doing in our midst, and you're going to be hearing more about that over the next few weeks. So we look forward to seeing you soon. God bless. Have a great day.